Let's get right to our fireside chat today. We want to bring you the stories of these two startups and specifically give insight into their journey over the last year that's led to some impressive progress in both securing coveted partnerships, but also in raising funding so that they can scale their work in transforming care delivery. We're really proud of the work that these startups have done, and we're very honored to have our esteemed guests today. So let me do a few quick introductions. So leading our fireside chat today is Plug and Play CEO and founder Saeed Amidi. He built the largest innovation platform in the world, and Saeed has a singular passion for inspiring and helping entrepreneurs and at the same time revolutionizing corporate innovation. Saeed is also an investor and general partner in Plug and Play Ventures and has nearly 20 years of experience investing in tech companies with successful exits in companies such as PayPal and Dropbox and Lending Club, and then most recently, Honey, which was acquired by PayPal for $4 billion. He's one of the more active investors in the world, and Plug and Play has over 1,000 investments with close to 15 unicorns. In addition, Saeed has over 30 years experience starting and running global businesses. So he'll be chatting with Simha Sadasiva. He's co-founder and CEO of Usher, and Simha has spent the last 2 decades building and scaling software products that have been deployed worldwide. He's made a massive impact in the industry, and he co-founded Usher to bring automation technology for delivering frictionless customer experience to consumers. Prior to Usher, Simha was head of session delivery business unit at Dialogic, formerly Veraz, and was part of the founding team at Veraz that led the company to a successful IPO. So good morning and welcome, Saeed and Simha. It's so great to have you. And Saeed, if you could turn on your video, I'll scoot off and I'll let you take it from here, and I'll pop back on so we can do some live Q&A.
Good morning, Simha. It's great having you on this program.
It's a pleasure to be here, Saeed. Good morning to you as well.
You know, it's been a challenging year for all of us, but almost every time I talk to you, you are in your office.
That's a virtual background.
You go to the office.
If I take the virtual background away, you'll see me. I've been stuck in this master bedroom for the past 13 months.
Okay. Okay, so that's a backdrop. Excellent, excellent. Simha, I think it will be interesting for our audience. You know, I was born in Iran and I came to US to do my studies and, to return back home to help the family business. But, the 1979 Iranian Revolution changed my path. And I'm very fortunate to be in Silicon Valley for the last 40 years and see the world transform. But I would love to know a little bit about your early days. Where you grew up and where did you study and how did you get here?
Yeah, I love to tell this or share my early childhood, early life experiences, because I think a lot of people will resonate with this or will share similar stories. The quintessential immigrant story like yours. I was born and raised in Bangalore, India. Come from a very modest middle class background. Thankfully, education was always a big part of our family's focus for everyone, including my sibling, and went through some really good early childhood education and went to computer science engineering school in Bangalore. After I graduated, I worked in consulting for about 3-4 years. And, I think I started looking at opportunities at a time when business process outsourcing and the whole offshoring and outsourcing was really starting to take off. So the opportunities that I had to be at a consulting firm enabled me really to do some groundbreaking work for some major companies like NEC Corporation in Japan and Samsung, and then got recruited by Compaq And when I was working for a project in Compaq is when I actually got recruited to move to the States. Um, and
That's
then I went to
great.
Bell Labs. I was part of a team at Lucent Technologies. Back in the day, it was very prestigious to work for the labs or do some work, right? You work with some of the brightest minds in the industry. I was in Lucent for about 2 years in Chicago. Um, and it was a little bit slow to my liking, to be honest. And then um, moved to do some really early work at companies such as 3Com. Then the valley beckoned me, the startup culture, and I moved here about in the summer of 2000, right after the dot-com bubble had burst. I did two startup stints, and then one of the startups that I was at, I had a fascinating experience being part of a team that took the company public, and here we are. And it led me down my career trajectory that I'm on.
Wonderful. So you have been here since 2000 in Silicon Valley.
In the Valley, yes, 21 years, and I came to the States in '98. Yeah.
Wonderful. I beat you. I've been here 41 years.
It
But
does
but I
sound bad
started.
for those younger audiences, isn't it?
That's right. That's right. It is really times flies. And, when you talked about Bangalore and the India, we are evaluating opening an office in India, in Bangalore, and in different cities. And it is incredible the number of investments we do that the entrepreneurs is from India. One of my good friends, from Sequoia mentioned it's really good to have a immigrant in the founding team because they are more hungry for success and they work harder to prove themselves and to establish themselves here in US. Do you believe in that? Do you believe like the immigrants have a special need and drive?
I think I'll get into trouble for for saying this with a very broad brush or painting this with a broad brush, but I do being an immigrant, I can tell you that you're looking for that chip on your shoulder, the fire in your belly to do something to change the world. I think it's, at least for me, that's a part of me. It's been a part of me right from when I've been a kid. I would not take that away from anyone else, right? I mean, everyone has their own motivations, but for me, I think the the immigrant that I am enables me to be a lot more cost conscious, being frugal about the way we go about looking at things, um, and just to make a mark.
That's great. That's great. I asked from your early days, and can you now tell me a little bit about the early days, like the first 6 months to a year of Usher? And I'm actually curious to see how did you come up with the name, or when did you settle with for the name?
Yeah, the so I'm a musician, part-time musician. If I'm not running or working, I'm singing, right? So that's part of the other side of me. And my music teacher invited me to one of the concerts here in West San Jose at a church called Bethel Church. And so this was one of the Christmas events. A big church, really big church. And he said, just show up there. Somebody's going to get you seated. I have seats reserved for you. And I get there, and there was this person waiting for me and to get my family situated. And that experience, there were like at least 1,000 people there, but that experience of getting to where we needed to get to was so seamless, so inspiring, that that was an usher who actually got us where we wanted to. And I was like, this is the kind of experience we need to enable every one of our clients to deliver to their customers. And that was the genesis for the name.
That is incredible. That is a great story. If I may also share with you, the name Plug and Play came about because during the year 2000 and so, the first .com, I have a plastic business and I put the name plastic.com
Hmm.
and try to open one of these verticals. And it took me about 6 months to get our servers, our office, our team together. And I thought that is too long to get things going. So I kind of named Plug and Play, because I wanted the entrepreneur to walk into the building and be able to focus on building their product the same day and don't worry about space, logistics, and data center. If I may, when you decided to open Usher, what was going on in your mind? What was the top three priorities you had?
I think number one, I think we wanted to make sure that we understood what we were trying to solve, right? My background allowed me to think about these big, massive infrastructure problems that we could solve. So we kind of took it for granted that we could solve the problems that we set sail on. But were we solving the right problem? Were we solving the right problems for the right customers? Um, and did we have the wherewithal to actually build that and go to market? I think those were some of the most important questions in our mind. And the first, I would say, not even 1 year, I would say first 2 years was a lot of, ideation, tweaking, taking a lot of different shots on goal to get it right. And eventually, I think we have organically landed where we have landed. We didn't force fit anything. The core DNA of the team was in building massively scalable infrastructure that was required or appreciated by large enterprises. And so we have focused on that segment of the market to solve very important problems for them. And so first 2 3 years, I would say, was largely in getting our fundamentals right. The platform that we intended to build for the right audiences, right, and the right distribution model, right. And so those are some of the early experiences, and we'll probably talk a little bit about funding and how we organically grew the business. But we didn't raise any institutional capital. We mostly worked with a frugal, seed capital for almost 2.5 years. And we were lucky to have some amazing early partners in our journey, including Plug and Play, and would love to share our experiences there as well.
Thank you so much. We love to hear your experience in how you met Plug and Play. But before that, I hear like AI best customer communication. I mean, AI is a big buzzword right now. And if you can apply it to a big problem, it really saves time and money and hopefully more accurate results. May I ask, like, what do you mean by AI-based customer communication flow, and how did you come up with this product?
Sure. I think the focus and the vision for us, I told you a little bit about the name, the reason why we named Usher, the company Usher. I think we want to deliver those seamless customer experiences for every client. If you see the friction that exists in the way you talk to an insurance company today or talk to a financial services company, or even the healthcare experiences that we go through, it's broken, right? The average consumer of these products and services today is also the same consumer interacting with modern e-commerce companies. Is the same consumer working with shared economy marketplaces, whether it's Uber or Airbnb or the Amazon or Walmart experiences that we have when we transact. Um, and so I think that gap is fundamentally big, and companies don't really understand how to deliver those kinds of experiences when they need to meet their customers. And so our true north has always been about taking that customer experience and championing for it. Now, when you look at the whole digitization, digital transformation that's going on in the industry, most companies think about digital transformation as a big, massive, hairy project, 3 to 5 years in the making, tens of millions of dollars, replacing a bunch of core systems. It doesn't need to be that. You can start small. You can take and break your transformation efforts into specific segments of the customer journey and solve those one step at a time. Now, where AI comes into play is there are technology evolution that has happened today thanks to the advancements of natural language understanding, the ability for computing to be able to support these kinds of AI implementations, and also in the form of computer vision, right? The machine learning and data science technologies, they have evolved so much that you can apply this to specific industry problems. Oftentimes AI is a big black box, right? And we don't think about it that way, right? So when you're talking about a customer journey, for example, I'll give you a customer may need to provide some information to handle a claim, right? Enabling that experience to be seamless. Number one, to collect that claim related data, whether it is your driver's license or some medical form or something. The collection of that information itself is fundamentally important. Now, that experience of collecting that information happens through what we call front office or conversational AI. The second part of this is applying AI to digitize that information that is coming in from the customer and writing it back into the source of truth or systems of records. That's the second back office or middle office automation that comes into play. Now, so we apply AI across the front office, the middle office, and the back office, and take specific use cases and deliver big wins for our customers.
That is great. That is great. Again, when I recall, first I met you and you you presented your company and your product. I believe almost any company can use Usher to navigate their customer relationship in the front and the back end. But may I ask, like, I think you met some people through Plug and Play, and I really like the startups or the entrepreneurs that little bit maybe pivot, maybe little bit make their product based on the requirement of the customer. Can you tell us a little bit about who did you meet at Plug and Play, and how did you even meet Plug and Play?
Yeah, it took actually, we were, our office was right next to Plug and Play's office, by the way. It took a call from a customer who is one of your corporate partners, who introduced me to Alex Tran. And that was our first meeting. When I talked about my vision and what we were doing, Alex was like, wow, this is I think, a game changer for the industry. And we talked a little bit. It was supposed to be a 30-minute meeting. It went a bit longer. And then he said, I have this opportunity for you to come and present in our an upcoming deal flow. I didn't know what a deal flow was at the time. And I said, sure, I would love to come in and pitch. And so that was the first interaction with Plug and Play. And then the first meeting, that first deal flow, was actually with Irish Life. So a group of folks from Dublin had come. David Harney, Ken Lynch, and a bunch of folks from Irish Life had come to sit in on a pitch. I had 20 minutes to pitch. They didn't believe a word of what I said, but they gave me an opportunity to come back to them and spent an hour later on after they went back to Dublin. And today, Irish Life is a really awesome customer for us. They've done some really big transformational things. And that was the first deal flow that I attended. And since then, I think we have met Tower Insurance, which is a upcoming challenger brand in New Zealand. That was a company that we met at Plug and Play. PPS South Africa is another insurer, property and casualty insurer, and we have a number of other brands like that we have met at Plug and Play. And to me, Plug and Play is that perfect crucible to bring startups like Usher and meet corporate partners, right? Big corporate partners that we don't typically have access to.
And no, thank you so much. For some of the audience that may not know what is a deal flow, we sometimes get the Irish Life or Unum, and we say, what area are you interested in? And they tell us the pain points or the area of technology interest. And then we usually put in front of the audience or the CTO, CIO, head of strategy for startups. And the objective is just for them to see the solution. And then, of course, later on, you have to spend a lot of time with them for them to understand the product, maybe do a pilot, and then hopefully result in the licensing agreement. And just to kind of, Simha, to tell you an interesting fact, we have done over 2,400 deal flows last year.
Wow.
I think you might participate in maybe 20 of them or 15 of them because they are related to your solution. But can you also tell me a little bit in how you met Unum and what are you doing for Unum?
Yeah, Unum has been one of our earliest customers. Again, a great corporate partner for you. At the time, Ted Reed, who was responsible for that partnership with Plug and Play, and I met, and we did a couple of quick pilots for enabling sales teams from Unum to take their products out and promote their products to their large group employer prospects. So that was the earliest interaction with Unum for us back in 2017. And since then, Unum is an amazing company to work with. Great team, great people, great culture as a company. They do some really amazing work with short-term disability, long-term disability, life products. They're transforming their business like every other insurance company, and we've been really lucky. Although our initial entry points at Unum have been through the business teams, and we have some great partnerships with Mike Simons, the Chief Operating Officer of the Unum Group of companies. Over the years now, we have built some really key relationships with the CIO organization, Puneet Basin, and their CTO, Gautam Roy, is a really big innovator and bringing lots of innovation into the company. So Usher is a partner. We don't look at ourselves as a vendor in any of our customer engagements. We are more a trusted advisor / partner where we enable them to take our platform and apply our platform to various different use cases. So Unum uses our platform for a broad set of claimant experience transformation, where what used to take them 3-4 weeks to adjudicate a claim happens in under an hour today because of the work that we do with them.
Wonderful. I happen to know Guidewire, which is one of the software companies that now it's very big company, but they automated claim processing. Do you complement what do they do, or do you compete with what they do?
We work alongside a lot of these core systems, right? Platforms like Guidewire, Duck Creek, EIS, Phineas. These are all core platforms that insurers typically use in the back office side. And when they talk about claim automation, they're talking about digitization of the claim record itself. But what is often missing in these systems of records is the ability to seamlessly interact with various different stakeholders, whether it is a claimant needing to give certain claim related information. That is a missing piece of the puzzle. So by bringing in a modern, cognitively intelligent system of engagement, we are basically enabling the acceleration of that claim journey. And so we complement platforms like Guidewire.
That is fantastic. Now, let me little bit change the subject. I would love to know like your funding journey, and maybe you can tell us when you did the seed round and A round and your latest round. Because as you said, you were very frugal and kept the company going with very little money for a long time.
Yeah, so the three key words: frugal, focus, and fortitude. I think those are the three key important ingredients to be an entrepreneur and to start companies, right? So we did $2 million of seed over two or three different closes, and we really stretched the dollar quite a bit there. We were a very small team because we really wanted to get the product right before we started to go to market and scale the company. We raised a Series A in the summer of 2018. So really, if you were to think about Usher, the clock started for us in the summer of 2018. And we acquired a handful of customers and demonstrated what we call product market fit. And so the pandemic kind of accelerated the need to be digital for a lot of our constituents, right, that we serve. And so that we are experiencing tremendous uplift, and you see the RPA hype, and we are the next generation of what RPA companies aim to be, right, bringing in intelligence into the automation part. And so we were lucky to meet some really great investors last summer, and we closed a Series B round. I was looking to raise $20 million. It became an oversubscribed round. So Third Point Ventures came in and convinced us to take their capital. Amazing partner. Rob Schwartz is a great mentor. I've really enjoyed working with him. And the oversubscription led to Aflac Ventures leaning in and saying they would like to participate in that round. So fast forward, here we are. We ended up raising $30 million as part of our Series B, which sets us up for the next 18 months.
That is fantastic. And I'm sure the audience and Jennifer have questions. But for me to ask your last question, if you had advice for some of our startups and entrepreneurs, I liked your, frugal focus. What other advice would you have for them?
Yeah, just like you can't learn to bike by watching a YouTube video or learn to swim, you have to take the plunge. So if you have a good idea, I think you have to take the plunge. If you have the itch, and what makes a valley so amazing, Saeed, you know this. It's people that you meet who are willing to help you, work with you, counsel you, mentor you without looking at what's in it for me, right? So there's a massive network. I want to just be a part of that. So if I can be, a mentor or show the path that I have walked, happy to be a resource. I can be found on LinkedIn, so happy to support any of your companies or entrepreneurs who are looking to do something.
Wonderful. Jennifer, I pass it to you. And again, thank you so much, Simha.
It's always a pleasure talking to you, Saeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Simha and Saeed. I know that went so quickly. We could talk for another half hour. And it's really a fascinating story that you have, Simha. I did have a question here If so you started out in insurance and insurtech and have done very well. But let's talk for a second about some of the use cases you see for either hospitals or pharma companies that Usher can solve for, or even other industries beyond that. But if you could address healthcare for a second, I know you have some ideas on that.
Sure. So when we talk insurance, we talk it with a very broad brush, but when you double click that, um, you see property and casualty insurers, you see life and benefits companies, and you see payers or health insurers, right? So these are all different segments. They all get somehow clubbed into insurance. So we do work with companies that can be traditionally insurance based, but they can be financial services or healthcare companies too. So there are some very natural adjacencies in the segments that we deal with. Specifically to you, answer your question, we see so many different applications of this technology to automate things, whether it is coordination of benefits, whether it is prior authorization or prescription refills or medication adherence. These are examples of how Usher comes into the equation to change the outcomes, the health outcomes that healthcare companies are looking for. Even simple things like prescription refills prevent calls from coming into the call center. Where is my order is a classical problem. You try to get a prescription refilled and you don't have it. You haven't received your order of supplies at home. What happens next? A phone call into the call center. So there are lots of opportunities for healthcare companies to digitize, automate, get closer to the customer or the patient or the member, whatever is that relationship that they have. And that basically changes the outcomes for them.
Yep, great. I did love what you said about the patients and the customers who are, using insurance or going to the hospital are the same ones that are ordering on Amazon and getting their goods a day later. It seems so true. Actually, Saeed, there's a question for you in relationship to Usher, and what are the main success factors that were considered when investing in Usher, because it was one of the sort of key points of Usher's sort of success was the initial investment.
For me, the people are, of course, the most important part of our decision. And I must say, when I met Simha and I heard his pitch, I thought like he was solving a huge problem, and I didn't believe it. But I said that if he can really solve it, it is going to be a big market and a really big successful story. And then, as our model goes, after I showed Usher to a handful of our corporate partners and I saw that they are excited about it and they are willing to do a pilot, because they are busy. So when they do a pilot, the time that it takes them as well as the manpower, it's huge. And we saw some of the pilots going well, and then that's when we make our final decision. But you could feel Simha's energy and enthusiasm and passion from the first moment I met him.
Well, we could feel it today too, Simha. So I can't thank you enough for being on. I wish we had more time. Thank you so much, Saeed. And we really appreciate you taking time out of both of your days for this little conversation. Thanks a lot.
Well, it's a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.